Hello everyone and welcome back to Ace Combat 7. We will now be playing the second mission. So without any delay, let's get right into it.
As of 1 p.m. today, the Kingdom of Erusia has declared war on the Osean Federation. As soon as the news broke out, enemy aircraft began bombing Osean territory, causing widespread destruction. The Air Defense Force has released a statement saying this violent attack was carried out by drones. They speculate the drones were secretly transported to Osea in shipping containers and launched remotely. The Secretary of the Navy has stated that the enemy was targeting naval ports across the country. According to the Secretary, all of the nation's aircraft carriers, including one still under construction, sustained severe damage in the attacks. We have yet to hear back from the department as to the fate of Osean carriers currently at sea. Hold on, I've just received breaking news. The International Space Elevator, which is being built in southern Usea, has been seized by the Erusian army. Reports say former President Harling was touring the site at the time,
This guy's from
but his
AC5.
current whereabouts are unknown. Our sources in government tell us it was Harling's policies regarding the space elevator that caused economic frictions in the area, and which ultimately led to this war. Located near Erusia, on the continent of Usea, the space elevator has been under construction for some time now. The Executive Office of the Osean Federation has declared a national state of emergency. They have ordered all its armed forces, including Usian peacekeepers, to mobilize and make the necessary preparations to launch an immediate counterattack. Ladies and gentlemen, our country is officially at war. Stay tuned for further updates.
Breaking news from ENN. Osea launched an attack on the capital today, striking Farbanti from their aircraft carrier, the Kestrel II. After a brutal battle, the Erusian Air Force successfully repelled them. During the air raid, the Osean Air Force fired missiles at the city and managed to shoot down a number of Erusian fighters. Some of the disabled planes then crashed into residential areas.
The world was screwed. 20 years ago, the Earth got slammed by an asteroid. Usea was on the wrong side of the planet and got hit. Hard. Refugees swarmed the Erusian Republic, the biggest country on the continent, plunging it into chaos. They were desperate and started a war, one they had no hope of winning. That's the war my dad fought and died in. The biggest nations from two continents went head-to-head, and the so-called righteous Oseans struck the deal that ended it. They fancied themselves the only nation that could bring peace and stability to the world. They even tried saving the Usians, still suffering from the disaster. That's how a space elevator, stretching way up into the sky, ended up being built in Usea, paid for by the Oseans. President Harling said he did it out of compassion for his fellow humans. But to the folks in Erusia, it looked like Osea was moving in to take over. Erusia went from being a republic back to being a kingdom. When they started this new war, they managed to get the drop on everyone.
As of 1 p.m. today,
The second the declaration hit the news, Erusian forces took control of the space elevator without spilling a single drop of blood. President Harling was touring the elevator when it happened and disappeared. Then, while that was going on, the Erusian ships that were docked all around Osea released a swarm of drone fighters they had hidden on board in containers. No one thought they were capable of doing what they did that day. With pinpoint accuracy, they managed to take out everything that was military, and not a single civilian was hurt in the process. Osea pissed lots of people off with their huge military presence around the world. Erusia didn't have the same reach, but they could hit their targets faster and cleaner. And when all this was going down, I just so happened to be in my flying drag racer. In case you were wondering, yeah, I survived. I crashed in a bombed-out Osean Air Force base, then got arrested for breaking wartime aviation laws or some crap. The world went from being at peace to being at war, all in the blink of an eye.
Princess Rosa Cassette Delise of the Kingdom of Erusia. Today, Osean airstrikes have shattered the lives of countless Erusians. Their attacks practically leveled the school I went to. It is heartbreaking. Tragic.
I was tried, found guilty, and stuffed into a cargo ship. For company, I had some court-martialed soldiers. And remember those mothballed planes I told you about before? They were loaded on the ship, too. We headed off down south for several days, and then swung east. That's how I got here. I was thousands of kilometers from Erusia, on the opposite side of the Yuzian continent. For a port, it was dull as hell. It had 3 rusty patrol boats, and the base? The fences were topped with razor wire, the tower had a searchlight and machine guns, and a truck with a gun turret was parked in front of the gate. Its gun was aimed at the yard. This was a prison.
You don't
It
say.
looked like a full-on base, but half the tanker trucks were just big balloons, and the runways weren't even paved, just painted on the dirt. The whole place was just one big fat lie. The only reason I was here is because they knew I'd restored a supersonic plane. They wanted me to make something out of the mothballed planes they brought, that they could park on the fake runway. Can you believe that shit? So, I tried to escape. They found out, and set the dogs on me.
Erusia has made a declaration to the Osean Federation and all countries on the Yuzian continent stationing the IUN peacekeeping force that we are now at war. Right after the declaration was made, surprise attacks began around the continent that have inflicted major damage to our armed forces. Forces aligned with Erusia are currently appearing throughout Yusia. The combination of these forces has overwhelmed the majority of the continent, and they are now encroaching on us in the east. Additionally, the multinational space elevator has been seized by the Erusian military. After the previous war, the space elevator became both a symbol of peace and a valuable asset in the fight against growing energy concerns. Whoever has control of it will have enormous influence over the entire continent. We cannot turn a blind eye to this critical situation. The Fort Gray's Air Base Squadron has been entered into the order of battle to reclaim the elevator as an advance element. First, you will attack all hostiles coming in the east of Schofield Plateau to stop any interference with the Allied ground troops. The enemy has deployed several vehicles equipped with anti-air radar along the roads. You are to destroy them. They should not pose much of a threat. However, there is a high likelihood that the attack will draw more enemy air support. If that happens, fight them off swiftly and establish air superiority.
Right, so we're gonna be destroying some stuff. Typical, early game mission. Right, so let's do... So, we're gonna do a MiG-21 with a Huckabine the Raven skin, Belkin fighter ace from Ace Combat 0, with a significant role in Ace Combat 5. I won't spoil it, but I recommend you go watch anyone's Ace Combat 5 playthroughs. It's a very rewarding game to play or watch if you don't have access to it. It's rather difficult to get your hands on. I don't know if they're still selling it on the PlayStation Store on PS4. When I believe it had to be a pre-order bonus for Ace Combat 7 because a lot of their licensing for the aircraft expired, and the music too. So they can't just sell it anymore, unfortunately. It would be very nice to see an actual PC port, but that's never going to happen, probably. Anyway, let's get to it.
Mage Squadron, sortie, ASAP. Current target is on rails, but there's still military vehicles and anti-air weaponry. Destroy the target. But HQ has made it clear that no harm should come to civilians and no damage is to be done to public facilities.
Yeah, explain to me how that's supposed to work.
Shutdown could land in civilian territory.
No point arguing.
I actually believe just recently there was a drone strike with some civilian casualties in Afghanistan as we speak. Speaking of Afghanistan, what do y'all think of that disaster?
It's popping off now, Trigger. The war has officially begun. Target destroyed. 5 to go.
Get the fighters out there! Protect the radar vehicle! Requesting permission to move the vehicle! We can't wait any longer! We need interceptors now! We're using the containers now! Those weapons are meant for tactical flexibility.
Hostile eliminated.
Yeah, so as we're recording this right now, yesterday was the last day of U.S. troops in Afghanistan, so we'll see how that plays out. I think they're going to find an excuse to send us back in, basically as soon as possible, keep us there for the next 100 years, but, you know, that's just my prediction. They certainly could have done a better job of pulling out. They just left everything there for the Taliban.
Locked. Target destroyed. 3 to go. Continue to engage in your discretion.
And I believe there's at least, what we know, at least a couple hundred U.S. citizens still trapped in Afghanistan, and the Taliban have taken over the airport.
Okay, recruits. Pay attention to who's on what side.
And that's just what we know of. I'm almost certain that there's more than that.
So trust your radars.
So, quite unfortunate what's going down there. We shouldn't have been there in the first place, but if we were going to be there, we should have, you know, done it properly. That's the right way to say it.
The Seekers can sometimes lose their lock-on to their targets, too.
We should have destroyed anything and everything that we weren't taking with us,
Enemy will crash in a residential area.
rather than leave it for our enemies.
Target eliminated. 2 targets remaining.
That radar was just about to go online. Going too fast.
I'm almost certain that if I talk about current events, the videos are going to get, if nothing else, demonetized, but worry not about that because I don't even have enough subscribers to get monetized in the first place.
Continue with the mission. Crush as many as you can. H2, Box 2.
focused.
4 targets
That
remaining.
one exploded pretty
All
big.
transports have been destroyed, but what were they carrying?
Whatever it was very explosive.
That vehicle! Now!
Missile hit. 3 targets remaining.
They have them spiked. Evading. Launch preparations complete. Bolts are free. Whenever you're ready. Stand clear, 15 meters. UAVs ready to launch. Away.
More of these drones, you know.
What happened?
The drones in this game like to defy the laws of physics.
Wait, they're being launched.
That said, so do player
Clear to
aircraft.
engage. They're probably hostile.
Judging by the way they look and move, they gotta be drones. Well spotted, clown. No doubt about it. We're dealing with UAVs. But that doesn't change a thing. Just think of them as somewhat clever decoys. Take them all down. These drones have great agility. All
The guy I just shot on the runway was another named Ace. What happens is, if you kill them, you get the skin that their aircraft has, so you can paint your plane like them.
That doesn't matter. Destroy all enemy fighters and get out. It doesn't matter. He's saying the war can change in an instant. Get over it.
It's how you unlock the quote-unquote special skins
UAV confirmed destroyed. Hell yeah.
for whichever aircraft type it is that they're flying. So in that case, a MiG-29.
Enemies to go.
Bandits are in the clouds.
H2, missile launch.
I'm buying dinner for anyone who takes down an enemy.
Well, you already owe me several.
You're doing good. Just 2 more. My wings are raised up.
One to go. Let's get through this without any casualties.
Firing. They won't show up on the radar.
Nice kill, Trigger.
That was
Aircraft
easy.
confirmed down.
I love the look of the MiG-21.
Mission complete. RTB.
Something about that
No casualties. We couldn't have done any
front
better.
end of it with
Returning
that
to base.
pointy bit on the
I don't
engine.
know. Maybe the bandits we took down caused civilian casualties.
No point arguing. That's how war
It
is
looks
these days.
rather similar to a cruise
shoot, someone
missile,
gets
actually.
The guys in charge take care of the rest.
Built for speed. It's one of the longest
Target is on
serving
rails. They're
fighter
still
jets
moved.
in the world, I think. Something like would have been introduced in the late 50s, I think, so early 60s. So it's been flying
You've
for
given
at
us air
least 50
superiority
years.
by destroying their radar.
They were in
The first barrier
Vietnam.
keeping us from retaking the space elevator is gone. Now is the time to group up and begin the counteroffensive. Let us reclaim what is ours.
So, yeah, MiG-21s are very long-serving aircraft. They still serve in some capacity with various nations' air forces. Most notably, there are controversial videos out there where India claims to have shot down Pakistani F-16s utilizing their modified variation of the MiG-21. Highly modernized, so it's not entirely a shock. Depending on which side you'll ask, you'll have Pakistanis and Americans denying that the F-16 was shot down by a MiG, and you'll have people on the Indian side of the conflict saying it absolutely was a MiG that shot down an F-16. So, no one can really say for sure, I suppose, but they see combat service today and arguably compare at least semi-competitively with older generation U.S. fighters that are still in service with the U.S. and other countries, although the American ones, I'm sure, are much more heavily modernized than whatever Pakistan is using. That said, we will call it an episode. We shot down 5 Apaches, 5 MiGs, 3 transports, 1 MiG-29 named Ace, and 5 drones. And with that, I will see y'all in the next episode.